The battles on Capitol Hill over health care and the debt ceiling, the president's allegation that he was wiretapped, and the existence of so-called deep state. All of this and more arose when our chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen, sat down with Vice President Pence today, the first in his House office at the Capitol.
Alert and genial, the vice president had just finished meeting with Republican lawmakers on the effort to repeal and replace Obamacare. I asked him about the White House's criticism of the Congressional Budget Office projection that the GOP legislation as crafted would leave 52 million Americans uninsured by 2026.
If that's not correct, what is the correct number?
I think first we want to thank the CBO for their work. And what the Congressional Budget Office is good at is estimating income and expenses in various federal programs. What I think they're less effective at is really evaluating what happens in the marketplace. Now, under the Obamacare mandate, they projected that there would be another 8 million people in the health care plan today than there really are. And so their estimates have been off in the past. I think they're off this time around,
and so
too.
What's your estimate?
I think it's very difficult for us to estimate how many Americans will make the individual choice to purchase health insurance, but we believe it's considerably higher than any estimate that we've seen in the public to date.
With lawmakers bracing for possibly the biggest battle yet over the debt ceiling, I asked about Treasury Secretary Mnuchin's letter last week urging Congress to raise it once again.
Where are you going to find your offsets?
We're very confident that when that vote comes up this summer, that we're going to be in a very different environment. The president's submitting his budget on Capitol Hill this week, and as the economy expands, we believe we're going to be able to meet the obligations of the federal government and deal with the issue of the debt ceiling in a fiscally responsible way.
Every week seems to bring new published reports about the FBI investigating members of the Trump campaign and/or the Trump transition for alleged contacts with high-ranking Russian officials last year. It seemed only fitting to raise the matter with the man who shared the campaign ticket and headed the transition.
Have you been contacted by the FBI?
I have not.
The former Director of National Intelligence, General James Clapper, has said he saw no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. But Clapper also said he was unaware of any basis for President Trump's startling claim earlier this month that he was wiretapped last year by President Obama.
When making such an incendiary claim, shouldn't the President of the United States be basing it on something more than something that comes out of the mouth of Mark Levin?
Well, there was a number of various media accounts alleging activity in the days that the president was referring to, and the reports of potential broader surveillance. And
shouldn't the President of the United States, when he's making a claim like that, have something firmer than that?
I think the American people have a right to know what was going on.
Many supporters of President Trump claim that faceless career bureaucrats inside the executive branch opposed to the president are working behind the scenes to sabotage his agenda. The name given to this alleged conspiracy, the deep state.
Of who or what, in your own mind, does this consist, and what are its aims, if it even exists at all?
Well, that's not a term that I've used, but I think President Trump has rightly been concerned about leaks that have been happening. I mean, to have the President of the United States on a telephone call with a world leader in several cases, and to have the transcripts of those calls leaked to the media is just unacceptable and constitutes a breach of our national security.
Lastly, I asked about the working methods of the president and vice president. Mr. Pence said he and the president speak nearly every day and communicate mostly orally. He told us he himself keeps no diary but does take notes when he meets with the boss.
I mean, to be around President Trump is to be around someone who is constantly generating ideas and tasks and giving direction, and so I try and keep track of that.
What for you is the biggest surprise about the job of the vice presidency?
Well, the job of the vice president is defined by one person, and that's the President of the United States. I do think that he chose me in part, James, because of my experience here on Capitol Hill and the relationships that I forged, and the ability to utilize those relationships to help advance the President's agenda is a great privilege to me. I believe with all my heart, when it's all said and done, the end of 8 years, he's going to have made America great again.
8 years.
You bet.
Mr. Vice President, thank you very much. A real honor.
Thank you, James.